everyone. My name's Catherine. This is Seasons of Solace, and tonight we are looking at the topic of infertility. And I know that is a tough topic to talk about. You know, I'm really encouraged by women who are talking more about this topic. You know, often it's something that there is a bit of shame attached to, but I'm really encouraged as people share their story that others are going to find new hope in the journey that they face. God reminds the Israelites that they are His and that He's going to bring them through the current trial that they are facing. You know, He reminds them that they are His, they're His precious possession, and He loves them so very much. You know, it says to fear not. He says to them, fear not, for I've redeemed you. I've called you by name. You are mine. When you walk through the waters, I'll be there. When you've walked through the flames, I'll be there. And I think that's a great reminder that God is with us through each and every season that we face. And I want to encourage you with that today. So I pray this would bless you as you look to God and as you listen in tonight.
Hi everybody, welcome to Seasons of Solace. I've got a great friend of mine, Nita, who has moved since we first met over to New Zealand, and she is doing so well. So she was part of River's Edge a number of years ago. And what have you been up to, Nita, in these last few years? Welcome.
Thanks, Catherine. Well, I'm actually a Kiwi, and I was living in Australia for about 6 years, from 2010 to 2016, and that's when I had the privilege to meet you and Luke and rest of River's Edge crew at the time. And but since then I've been back in New Zealand and working and raising my daughter, and connecting again with family.
Is your family close by?
So I live a couple hours north of Wellington, so towards the bottom of the North Island, back in New Zealand. And my family, so my parents and my siblings and extended family most of them are living in the town that I live in.
Oh, fantastic. So how is Zoe? Everybody's probably wanting to know. They probably remember you.
Yeah, she's great. Real firecracker and very determined young girl. Yeah, she's doing well.
She's got blonde, tight, curly hair, hasn't she?
Absolutely. Very, very curly.
Well, it's so lovely to have you here tonight, Anita. And I just wanted to say thank you so much for reaching out to me. As you know, everybody has been encouraged and invited to share their story on Season of Solace if they feel prompted to do so. And last week when you were watching the story with Narelle, you felt prompted by the Holy Spirit to start to share your story. What was going on for you in that moment?
It was definitely, my heart was beating faster, and I was like, for a while I'd kind of felt God saying, hey, you know, you need to start sharing your story. Some women need to hear it, you know, and get encouragement too, because they're just starting on the journey that I have been on. So and that listening to Narelle last week, it was like, boom, 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 boom. It was like very prompting of the Holy Spirit going, come on, now's the time. You need to do it.
Well, I'm really looking forward to hearing a little bit of that journey tonight. So why don't you tell us what the season is that you want to share with us tonight?
A long journey. It was 8 years of infertility, and it was a very difficult season.
So do any of those pictures along the back resonate with how you might have been feeling?
Through the season would have been definitely the second and third one, because I always felt like with the big winter coat of that second picture, that's what I see it as. It was almost like God was trying to wrap his arms of comfort around me, yet I was often trying to shrug it off and going, no, you know, and fighting it, and then would be like this third picture of wanting to run away and hide. I was ashamed and with everything that was going on.
Talk us through sort of how you sort of found out that this was an issue for you, and, you know, some of those early days of your journey.
I found out, like, actually pre-marriage, like when I was still single in my early 20s, that there could be issues, but it wasn't until like I was actually married and in a couple of years into the marriage that was like it was confirmed. But it wasn't just myself, it was my husband at the time. He had issues as well, so it was like a double whammy. Because I'd always had a desire, and ever since I was little, to be a mum. Always felt like I'm destined to be a mum. So, you know, why is this happening, God?
So when you first were told you were in your 20s, like what was that like for you in that moment?
I kind of shrugged it off thinking, well, it doesn't matter because my God's bigger than that. Almost like I'll be all right. And at that time I hadn't even had a boyfriend, let alone, you know, thinking of getting married to then have children. So I wasn't really worried too much about it. It'll work out is the kind of attitude I had at the time. Yeah, like by early 30s, by the time that we actually worked out, that it was actually both of us that had the issue.
Do you want to share what that condition was, or?
Polycystic ovarian syndrome, and then also husband at the time, he had real low sperm count plus bad shape, so it was definitely, the odds were very stacked against us. And then also because I was, you know, early 30s, fertility is actually naturally dropping off anyway.
And it's pretty confronting when they tell you that in the doctor's surgery.
Exactly. And you know, like a lot of people think, oh, it's okay, you know, I'll have my career, I can have my children later. It's not always easy to do that. Just so, you know, like or naturally for that to happen.
How far into your marriage were you when you started to think, oh yeah, we'd like to have a child, and then realizing that it was going to be difficult?
Probably within the first 6 months, because we'd already been together for three years before that.
Yeah.
And like we were 33 by the time we got married.
Talk me through some of the hospital visits and the things that were sort of said and happened, you know, if that's kind of where you want to take the conversation.
Well, we had to did blood tests and all that sort of stuff, like here in New Zealand at the time. And then it was very much, you're going to need IVF. You don't meet the criteria here, so it's going to cost you $15,000 to $20,000 per cycle here in New Zealand. I was like, we couldn't afford that. We'd just bought a house, you know, we were just on average income. Yeah, so then we ended up looking broader field and looked into it and found that we could, by moving to Australia, we could actually achieve and working there and access more help, affordable help.
How long before you were able to conceive? Like how long was the journey and the process?
Basically, it was 8 years. By the time we found out in New Zealand, it took us a couple of years to then actually, before we were able to move to Australia. And then we were in Australia 18 months and I went through my first cycle of IVF because here I was in a foreign country, no family, only new friends establishing. I had to have all these hormones that I was injecting myself with every day, and then they took out 7 eggs off me, 5 of them fertilized, and then every day the clinic would ring me for the next 5 days till when it was time to implant embryo back in. By day 3, all those 5 embryos had actually died and weren't valid, so that meant nothing to even transfer. So that was just an emotional roller coaster to start with.
Yeah.
And then it was a few more months and a few more died off. We ended up with 3 embryos that survived the 5 days. They implanted 2 and froze 1. The 2 didn't take. That was another failed attempt.
Wow.
Between me and my husband, we'd kind of said, we can't keep doing this emotionally, let alone financially. It was such an emotional thing to go through. So then we had this 1 frozen embryo. This was the last attempt. And so I had that implanted in the March, and then by that stage it's already classed as 4 weeks on. Then at 10 weeks, the day before Mother's Day of 2012, woke up to this massive loss and thought I'd lost the baby. And my husband kind of went, how do you know? I'm going, well, there's enough evidence. Yeah, and all I thought was, God, this was our last chance, and you said I'd be a mum. How can I be a mum if I'm having this baby? So I had to then go back to the clinic and more blood tests, and we were living out West Sydney at the time. We had to go over and meet my specialist over on the North Shore an hour later on Saturday morning. So it was like mad rush across Sydney. He saw us, and but then he goes, no, there is a viable heartbeat there, but take it easy for the next couple of days. Just go home and rest, and I'll see you on Tuesday or Wednesday, I think it was. But here I was thinking, I haven't even got to Mother's Day, being pregnant, and lots happened. So it wasn't really until I actually did get to hold my daughter in my arms that I was able to sigh relief and go, I've made it.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
I remember we spoke on the phone. It must have been, I don't know if it was before you went to the doctor or after. And you'd asked me to pray with you. And I just remember that moment thinking, Lord, I just had this gift of faith or something, like, no, this baby is alive and I'm just going to speak life over this child. And Luke and I sat there at our old place of work, and we just really just prayed for you in that moment. And, I just was like almost as convinced as you were that, no, this baby's going to be okay. So it was just a really, like, a huge privilege to have been called in that moment, because I know that I've often not called in those moments when it's darkest. So, that's a really huge step for you to have taken at that moment. Were there moments like that where you reached out and other people were sort of involved in the journey with you?
Normally I'm quite a reserved person and hold my head, and try to be stoic and do things on my own. But I really learned, and God really said, I'll put you in a village. You need to have people around you to support you. A bit like Moses, he had to have his, like Aaron and Ham holding his arms up at times. So weak in my faith and weak emotionally, more so than that faith. I really needed like some good couple of people around me to help so that I could reach out to.
Yeah.
Thankfully, I had yourself and Luke, and then also there was another couple back in New Zealand that really good dear friends. They were the people that I was able to go, hey, help me at this time. This is what's happening.
Yeah.
Because I think that when you just reminded me, you're saying that was actually the time, wasn't even the day before Mother's Day. That was actually, I think it was week 6. I had to go to the specialist for a checkup, and he couldn't actually find a viable heartbeat. So it was 6 weeks. And he was like, no, you've got to go to I need to send you up to some other clinic who had more intense ultrasound system to be able to pick up. And even then they were thankfully able to pick up a viable heartbeat, even though the baby was like the size of a grain of rice basically at that time.
Wow.
I really learnt the importance of having good, strong people around you that could be praying when I felt myself I couldn't pray. Because all through this journey too, I was married to a guy that wasn't a Christian.
Right.
Me and my husband couldn't lean each other and go, hey, let's pray. I'd be saying, I need to pray, and he'd be like, oh yeah, whatever.
Wow. So tell me a little bit more about some of the emotional journey of the infertility, because it takes its toll physically, but emotionally and like with your mental health, what was going on for you, and where did you turn in that?
It was an absolute roller coaster. I'd have good days, I'd have bad days, good minute, bad minute. The hard bit was seeing some friends or other women getting pregnant and having baby showers and stuff. And then some of them would be like, oh, we can't, like a few that knew me go, oh, we won't invite Nita because, it might upset her. But it's like, don't exclude someone, because like sometimes they actually like let them be the one to say, no, I can't at this moment, or I still wanted to celebrate their joy with them, even though it was hurting me inside. There'd be many times where I'd go away or home at night and just cry myself to sleep. Like often I felt like the old widow going before the judge, like pleading a case. So I kept going before God and saying, God, you said, and like you say, you give us the desires of our hearts, but it's like, there's a desire, but what's happening? And the unknown also kind of messed with me mentally as well, because like, how long is this going to go on?
So you were talking about the fact that you said that God said to you you were going to have a baby. How did that sort of happen? Because some people that might not be the case, and so they're not sort of holding on to a word from God. Was it something from Scripture, or was it something that somebody prayed over you? Or
I'd always had a desire ever since I was a little girl. It's like, I want to be a mum. And then I was actually at a youth camp, youth and young adults, like early 20s, and it wasn't actually long after the doctors had kind of said, I got diagnosed with the polycystic ovary syndrome, and the doctors had kind of said, oh, you might have fertility issues, and see what happens when you're in a relationship and stuff. And the speaker of the camp, actually, we were just chatting, and he randomly goes, oh, you're going to be a great mum one day. I'm kind of going, in my head I went, what would you know? Whatever, that's a bit random, because it was like, don't mess with me, because the doctors have just said you have issues. But I kind of pushed it aside, but every so often it would come up. It was like, and then like I'd be at church, and I might be on an altar call, and I'd be like getting someone to pray for me, and like, with the fertility and stuff. And I'd often get prayers and words that were just encouraging, and it just ignited again, like, one day I will be a mum.
Yeah, so you just had like a deep conviction that, this is going to happen.
Yeah, but it was knowing too, like, part of the mental journey was actually accepting that it wasn't the path of how I had pictured it to be, because I'd kind of always thought, oh yeah, I'll be married at 20, have my first kid on 25, and I'm going to have half a dozen. Or like I used to joke that I'd have enough for a 7-a-side rugby team. But yeah, here I am, a solo mum of one. But it's like, doesn't matter whether I had 7 kids or whether I had 1 kid, I'm still a mum.
Yeah. Even
if we'd had to go down the adoption part or fostering part, I still would have been a mum. The occasion doesn't always pan out the way exactly how we think it's going to. It can have twists and turns. But it's like still believing that there'll be an end result, having the faith to.
Talk me through then, I've talked with the other ladies about that the toughest moment. Was there a moment that you can kind of go, that was the moment when I was ready to call it quits, and that was it?
It was right before because with the IVF, they would ring me every day about them, like whether they'd be successful, and then you had to wait 2 weeks, still having injections, and then so like the second cycle I had to have injections, had blood tests, and then wait for the nurses to ring me in the afternoon to see whether the pregnancy had taken and stuff. So like when I got that phone call to say, no, you're not pregnant, I was like, I can't do this anymore. That was the first, it was like, it's just too hard.
Yeah.
I can't handle these, no. Getting the phone call and the nurse going, sorry, it hasn't worked. And the fact is like, it just yeah, it was heartbreaking because like I'd already gone through an IVF cycle and all the embryos had died off before even getting anything to implant. I was like, I just really felt I couldn't carry on. I was like, nah, I've at my end.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so what was the turning point then for you, and how did things change? Did you go to God, or did you go to a friend, or did you did you just fall apart in your room?
I went to bed.
Yeah.
For 2 days.
Yeah.
Cried and wouldn't talk to anyone. And my husband would come in from work and he'd be like, "Oh, come on, you'll be all right." I'm like, "No, I can't do this anymore." Then I rang my friend in New Zealand who knew that what was happening and stuff and said, "It hasn't worked." And he just started praying again.
Yeah.
Like, still believing. It was like, you didn't give up everything here in New Zealand, moved to Australia to fulfill your dream of becoming a mum, to give up at this point.
Wow.
You know, I didn't have the strength to pray at that time, so I'd put on worship music.
Yeah.
Just let that soak in the atmosphere. You know, to try and clear, because mentally I was so I've failed. So I didn't have the heart to pray myself.
Yeah.
Or to actually hear from God at that time. I learned that I needed to soak in worship.
Right. So as you look back in onto those moments now, what do you see that God was in there in that whole situation? Yeah.
Yeah, very much. Like through the whole journey, he's always ensured that I've had.
So Nita, tell me, was there a moment where there was a glimmer of light for you?
Yeah, it was actually when it came time to actually try with this frozen embryo. Me and my husband at the time had decided this is our very last chance. We cannot emotionally, physically, financially, but mostly emotionally, go through the whole IVF cycle again, because it was just such an emotional drain on both of us. So yeah, it was like, I remember doing all the injections to then get to the ovulation stage, to then have the embryo transferred. And through the previous one, I've never taken a photo of because you go into the clinic to have the embryo transplanted, but they put it up on a big screen under the microscope, so you can actually see the embryo. Well, this frozen one was the only one I'd actually taken a photo of. So they had said, "Oh, don't be surprised, because with them being frozen, they often shrink up, and it takes them 24 hours to kind of thaw out properly." He goes, "So it might not look fully perfectly round." And the scientist through the room who'd taken it out and had it under the microscope goes, "No, it's fine, it's perfect."
Wow.
Fully formed properly. And then I had to wait 2 weeks for the blood transfer. And I went into the clinic and the nurse said to me, "Oh, you know, don't you?" I go, "Don't mess with me. I can't emotionally, mentally, this is enough for me to actually bring myself to come here to have for this." She goes, "No, you know, even your blood's running differently." I'm thinking, don't mess with me mentally. This is just too much. And then, finally got that phone call to say, that I was pregnant. But then, even in that, I was still apprehensive. Yeah. Then, like I had, like at 6 weeks, my specialist said, "Oh, I can't find the heartbeat. I'll have to send you up to the clinic." So that's when I rang like you and Luke. I mean, this is what's happening. We're on our way to another place where they've got more, but please pray. Just the real glimmer of hope was the fact that I knew there was a couple of people that I could just go, "Hey, I need help with this."
Beautiful. And so what do you think, not that you have a lesson that God is intentionally trying to teach you in it, but were there some lessons, and were there some things that you learned about God through this whole season, and what were they?
I definitely learned that pressing into Him is my strength, like for my strength, but also he didn't leave us here on our own. You know, he not only sent the Holy Spirit, but he also puts us in community,
Mm.
you know, so that we can support, you know, offer support, but also gain support from others too.
Yeah.
Because there's times where, you know, like I need support, but I can support others with things that they're going through. Yeah.
Two-way street.
Absolutely.
It's amazing though, isn't it? And some of the other ladies have talked about just that support from friends or just a few close people that really you can draw strength from.
Yeah.
From the Lord in that moment when you need comforting and just that little bit of hope.
Because I remember even like, you'll probably remember this, remember that I must have been like 34, 35 weeks pregnant, heavily pregnant. And we'd gone for life group to the top right.
That's right.
And I was getting a ride home with you and Luke, and we couldn't get down to the car park where the car was parked. So here we are walking up 6 flights in the car park stairwell.
Right. Brand new shopping centre.
Brand new shopping centre, and we couldn't get out, so we had to get right up to the top to street level. And like, I'm sure Luke was freaking out that hope Nita doesn't. I'm sure he was praying that Nita wasn't going to have the baby in the stairwell.
Oh, that was a fun night. Yeah, I do feel like I do recall that panic though. Of, oh my goodness, the doors are both closed. What are we going to do?
Yeah.
Good memories.
Yeah.
So, is there something that you would like to share with others that might bring them comfort or courage through the season? Maybe it's a similar season with infertility that they're going through now, or another season that, you know, that they're experiencing that's a tough time. Is there something that you'd like to share to comfort or bring courage?
Just no matter the season that you're facing, I think it's really, don't give up. There is always a way through, and don't try and do it on your own. You know, God's here. If you don't know who to get help from, then just press into God and say, look, I can't do this on my own. He'll send people. He'll send the right people at the right time.
Yeah,
actually,
that's great.
You know, that will actually encourage you and support you and walk you through the journey.
So just reflecting back on the, I guess just that trauma and that emotional journey that was going on. Did you have a counsellor, or did you have, you know, someone that they recommended to help you through that season and that journey at the time at the hospital?
Not at the time.
Yeah.
But I did see, because even afterwards, it was still the emotion and stuff of it all, that I did seek some counselling, just to deal with mental side of it, because it took such a mental and emotional toll.
Yeah. And did you find it helpful to be able to process in that way?
Yeah. And there's no shame in that.
No, not at all.
And the other thing I learned too was it's okay to keep feeling like you're a stuck record and going, God, and keep praying to God, or even like, you know, at church, seek and say, hey, can you pray for me in this area? I'm still battling. I'm still struggling. I need some prayer. Yeah. And that's okay. And there's no shame in that.
Yeah, I remember you often being bold enough at that time to do that. And it just, I was so encouraged, because I know that years before when I'd been through a miscarriage, I was totally the opposite. It was like, nobody's to know, you know, it was all hidden, and I just could not tell anyone or talk to anyone. So it was just a whole nother way of dealing with grief and loss and what you were journeying through, to allow people in. And I think that was, you know, that was something that was really healthy, you know, from me looking in and just going, wow, you know, I'd love to be able to do that more and more in my own life with seasons. I think I said that last week, but like, you know,
because even through what I've gone through, there was some grief in that. You know, it's like, I had to grieve the fact of all these embryos had just died off, and you know.
Well, it sounds like you had a journey that God was a part of, and
very much
even though at the time it might not have felt that way necessarily, but it sounds like along the way there was lots of God moments that you just knew that he was he was there walking alongside it
Absolutely.
with you. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, that's fantastic. Well, thank you so much for sharing your story. I know that you're praying and going to be believing that your story, as it goes out to different women, that it's going to really encourage them and bless them and cause them to rise up and have hope again, perhaps if they're in the middle of the journey. So
Absolutely.
God bless you, Nita, and thank you so much.
I hope that you enjoyed that conversation tonight and that God really spoke to you through it. Maybe God prompted you to share your story as well, and I would really love to hear from you. Send me a message. If some of the contents of tonight's story have really disturbed you in any way, please feel free to contact me or contact somebody that you can talk to that you feel safe with, whether that's a counsellor or a friend or someone that's doing a similar journey. And just know that you're not alone in the path that you are traveling. And if there's any way that I can be praying for you, please send me a message and I will be praying for you. God bless you, and we'll see you next time.